douglAR Politics Independence Day version. douglAR Politics, 7:30 p.m. tonight. Sharp. You're under lockdown state of emergency for Independence Day. Are we really independent? douglAR Politics, 7:30 p.m. tonight.
The sun rises slowly over the hills. Everywhere is douglAR politics.
This is douglAR politics, yo. douglAR politics. Listen, douglAR politics, yeah. douglAR politics. This is douglAR politics, yeah. douglAR politics. This is douglAR politics. douglAR politics. This is douglAR politics, yo.
Good evening and welcome to douglAR Politics Independence Day. Back in 1922, the country came together. The African National Congress and the East Indian National Association came together to put pressure on the colonial masters to give the black and brown Trinbagonians a voice in their political future. And the Legislative Council was born. From that and during that period came leaders, some and one that we must pay tribute to, Albert Gomes. This man came into the politics and fought for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. It was in 1941 that when the colonial masters were thinking about allowing the black and brown people, the African and Indian citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, to see whether they could possibly be autonomous, whether they had the intelligence, the ability, the managerial skill to chart their own course. It was this man, Albert Gomes, who went into that committee that was weighted on the side of leave them black and brown people right there. Let them just do we bidding and let the pinks take all the money. And Albert Gomes fought and convinced that committee that autonomy was the route to go, that the people of Trinidad and Tobago should be granted the ability to chart their destiny through politics, through political power, and eventually through independence. So this man, Albert Gomes, deserves a lot of credit. And when you see this image and they're describing him, he was a man who fought for the people. And this thing just happened to strike me. He was determined to work for the people. And if he had to use his booming voice to get his point across and ensure democracy, he was willing to do so. The Senate opening up just now, boy. I have nothing to say. I ain't saying nothing. The douglAR is silent. So Albert Gomes, respect. Then he went on after that. Then the politics, Albert Gomes was to really win the election to set up in 1955. But the election was delayed to 1956. And that 1 year delay may be the worst thing that ever happened to Trinidad and Tobago. Because within that 1 year delay, a young graduate from Oxford University, one Dr. Eric Eustace Williams, became the leader of the PNM. And the delay in the election, the PNM won that election in 1956 for the Legislative Council, defeating Albert Gomes, a patriot and a man of the people who used his booming voice to fight for citizens. And instead, this people's national movement began to press their knee on the necks of Trinbagonians from back then. It was this PNM under Dr. Eric Eustace Williams who, in the election of 1961, used vagabonds, used gangs, used strong arms against the East Indians in the country. In Sawan Barataria, used police groups. Is this sounding a little bit too close to home for now? When you have ministers of national security, the small pin, talking in the Joint Select Committee about police, reporting to him as the Minister of National Security, watching what Jolene John and Khadija Amin and Saddam Hussein doing. This is 2020, when 2019, 2020, when Smallpin made these revelations. But back then in 1961, it was the same. Dr. Eric Williams and the PNM bullied the East Indians who were more dormant and docile and not confrontational. They disrespected Hindu women and Muslim women in the East-West corridor, breaking into houses and harassing women, stripping them naked and bullying them during the election. The PNM won in 1961 once again. And then the debate on the constitution of the possible independent Republic of Trinidad and Tobago began. And Ellis Clark and Dr. Eric Williams led the charge. And Ellis Clark stated, quite ironically, that the constitution that he was proffering was what we had been trained to follow by the colonial masters. They ignored all sensible consultation, exaltation. They ignored Gomes, they ignored Gordon, they ignored all the leaders. They ignored Capildale. They went up to Marlborough House and Dr. Eric Williams lied to the opposition. Said that he, when he returned home, so as not to waste this travel, not to waste the Queen's time and the lawyer's time at Marlborough House, that if the opposition agreed to sign off with this independence, that he will come home and restructure the EBC, stop the gerrymandering of the boundaries, stop the cheating for electoral victory. As he returned home with a signed document, he did no such thing. And we suffer up to today, Dr. Eric Williams. But as the flag was raised in 1962, this was the speech of Dr. Eric Eustace Williams. And I want you to listen carefully and not only think back, but think about right now. Think about Rowley. Think about the PNM. Think about the EBC. Think about Fern Nances. Think about the niece of a sitting minister. Think about the head of the EBC being the best friend of the Minister of Education, the Minister of Bundles. Think about all of that. Think about the SOE. Think about the frivolous reason. Think about our democracy and where it is. Think carefully as you listen to this clip from Dr. Eric Eustace Williams, and we thank the people at MCTV, news station, new channel, for giving us this video. Run it.
Welcome to another edition of our Sporting Heroes. Today though, we have an episode with a twist. The hero is not Brian Lara, Paisley Crawford, Keishon Walcott, or 2006 Soca Warriors, or even our very own 1979 World Championship netball team. No, with independence in the air, we look back at a clip from the Independence Day speech from our very first Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams.
The first responsibility that devolves upon you is the protection and promotion of your democracy. Democracy means more, much more, than the right to vote, and one vote for every man and every woman of the prescribed age. Democracy means recognition of the rights of others. Democracy means the equality of all in the eyes of the law. Democracy means equality of opportunity for all in education, in the public service, and in private employment. I repeat, and in private employment. Democracy means responsibility of the government to its citizens, the protection of the citizens from the exercise of arbitrary power and the violation of human freedom and individual rights. Democracy means freedom of worship for all, and the subordination of the rights of any one race to the overriding right of the human race. Democracy means freedom of expression and assembly and organization. All that is democracy. All that is our democracy, to which I call upon all citizens to dedicate themselves on this our Independence Day. This is what I meant when I gave the nation as its slogan for all time: discipline, production, tolerance. Our national flag belongs to all of us. Our national coat of arms with our national birds inscribed therein is the sacred trust of all our citizens. So it is today. Please, I urge you, let it always be so. Let us always be able to say with the psalmist, "Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity."
Well, that's the end of this episode of Our Sporting Heroes. Happy 59 Independence wishes from all of us here at Multicultural Television and Rhythms Communication Network.
If all of you did not listen to that and realize that on each and every point made by Dr. Eric Eustace Williams, Keith Rowley and the PNM failed dramatically. He stated that democracy, we must protect our democracy. Has our democracy been protected, or has it been attacked by Keith Christopher Rowley? In Tobago, since January, there's been a 6-all tie, and the PNM is governing Tobago and spending money as if the election never happened, calling an interim person chief secretary as if nothing happened, instructing the EBC to change the seats and to gerrymander to move to 15 seats, now calling a retreat to move over there under state of emergency to have an election to try and hold power. Is that democracy? Is that fairness? Is the EBC independent? Are the boundaries normal, or are they shifting polling divisions in San Fernando West and shifting them out of Oropouche into Oropouche and shifting areas around San Fernando East into San Fernando West to protect that seat, to try and make it a safe PNM seat? Are they building houses all over the marginals on agricultural land to give you democracy? Dr. Williams talked about one man, one vote, protecting that. Did we not just have an election where the PNM said in a pandemic, the only country in the world that refused its citizens the chance to come home to vote by an exemption policy that kept citizens out? Over 35,000 citizens, intelligent, brilliant citizens, were left out of the electoral process. Is that what Dr. Williams was talking about? He talked about equality under the law, yet we see Zessers and Wessers. We see PNM AGs braying like donkey, dribbling on man in a room without mask and being protected. We see in 14 people on a boat and them investigating. We see in Zessers on the ground getting charged, while ministers wear their masks like chin strap, convent girl, prime minister, minister bundles, none of them getting charged. One law for the haves, one law for the have-nots. We see in a big PNM when they had Andrew Gabriel's daughter wedding, while everybody else is under lockdown, shutdown, and broke down. Equality under the law? I think not. Responsibility to protect all citizens. Is that happening? With our porous borders, illegal immigration, and now under the pandemic, Brazilian variant, and now they're claiming Delta variant is spreading. Where did Delta variant pass? Are the police protecting all equally, or is there one law for one and one law for the others? What happened with the case? Hey, where's the comings and goings? Are we fostering protection? What about the cash lady? Is there an investigation in that? What about Calderhart? Did he really lie that was not his family? Where's the investigation? Anything into Las Alturas? Anything into Landed? Did they redo that investigation because of the technical difficulty by the Integrity Commission? Is there one law for everyone? How many UNC councillors over the last 10 years have been pulled into the police station for protesting, while Rowley and the PNM can protest and do what they want, and somehow the police pass by? Is that what Dr. Williams was talking about? Protection from arbitrary power. Keith Rowley just went in the parliament this week and extended a state of emergency, a failed state of emergency, where under state of emergency over 1,000 citizens died of the COVID-19, where over 32,000 citizens contracted COVID-19, where Tobago pre-state of emergency and pre-Rowley's invitation was pristine, a pristine bubble of cleanliness, brilliance, and good health. And now Tobago is reeling from a prime minister who did not protect Tobago. In fact, he invited all and sundry to come and poison Tobago and Tobagonians. Is that what you're talking about? Freedom of worship. Are we seeing that in Trinidad and Tobago? Churches are closed while malls are open. Malls, you could go and spend your money, while Rowley dodges floods, dodges the black people in flood in Laventille and Maraval and all over the north of Trinidad, dodges the brown people, the Indians, East Indians in Caroni and Central and Couva, and ends up in the C3 Mall with the shiny shoe to go and check his brethren them. Is that equality? Is that freedom of worship? Hindu religion is being suffered. They believe in the open fire cremation, that for their loved ones to spend a life in eternity, they need to separate the body and the spirit. Yet this PNM has banned open fire cremations with no science whatsoever. No WHO, no PAHO, no world, nothing. Not a bit of science that bans it. But yet, because of the Hindu faith belief and political victimization, the CMO is silent for weeks and months on end, even though the Hindu worshippers and Hindu groups had tried their best to stay calm. But yet there is oppression. Why were rivers closed and continue to be closed while malls and retailers are open? Freedom of expression and assembly. All of you citizens would love to protest Rowley, Rowley's arrogance, Rowley's abuse in Tobago, Rowley's COVID chaos, Rowley attacking the doctors and attacking the system and attacking the citizens, Rowley's shambolic handling of the economy, the children, the COVID-19 vaccination, the lack of procurement, the lack of options. Now he's warped with vaccinations but no education program and coming to talk arrogantly, shout down at you. The people want to protest every aspect of Rowley, his neglect of culture, his neglect of the business community, his poor negotiation for the gas industry, his shutting down of Petrotrin, his ignoring of the labor unions. You want to protest but you can't because he has suppressed your rights and oppressed your rights. Independence Day, would you like me to say the word happy? I think not. We shall dwell together, says Eric Eustace Williams. Are we dwelling together? Rowley plays the race card even though he loves pink more than black and brown. And at every juncture, the media assists him in playing the race card to divide this country. He plays games with resources down to food and hampers, even with flood relief and for farmers and for those who were flooded out and roads and infrastructure. He plays games so that all the yellow zone is kept in a place of devastation without resources, without help. Is that how we dwell together in unity? Every word Dr. Williams said, we are worse off. But keep in mind that Dr. Williams was lying too. And he lied then, and there's a king liar now. The greatest liar in the history of the Commonwealth. The email gate liar, the land gate liar, the Las Alturas liar, the Greenvale liar, the CEO liar, the NGC liar, the ferry liar, the Delcy gate liar, the COVID-19 liar, the vaccination liar, the Chinese liar, the Chinese HEC contract liar. Everything about Keith Rowley is lie. But he followed from his leader because Dr. Williams lied to Capildeo and the opposition. He lied to the country. That entire speech about unity was nonsense. He was the man who promoted Massa Day Done, which created the division. He is the one who used strength and bullying across to win elections. He is the one who brought the voting machines. He is the one who kept the country divided. He is the one that brought about this 1970 revolt, and he was supposed to be the black African leader. He is the one who banned black leaders from the USA, Panthers, and so on. Stokely Carmichael, he is the one who did not support the Orisha and the Baptist Shouter Baptist religion. It was Indian prime ministers who did that. You want me to say happy independence? I think not. John Newell Williams continued the policy of the PNM. Once, Calypso was a brilliant tradition. The newspaper of the people, the newspaper of the masses, controlled by no one. So much so that Dr. Williams used to say, let the jackass bray and turn off his hearing aid. But the Calypsonians were allowed to sing for issues, to sing on facts, to sing on information. The PNM and Joe Newell Williams, their czar of political machinations, bought and sold Calypso and turned Calypso into a PNM thing, into a party group, into a divider of the country, taking East Indians away from the tents by buying Calypsonians, renting them out, and instructing them what to write, how to write, and where to write. That's where our calypso art form is now. That's why the tents are not viable, because half their market is gone because of the policies of the PNM to divide and rule. In this nonsense that has been going on for 6 years, how many stinging calypsos have you heard about Rowley being an Oreo, about pum-pum governance? Once you give him pum-pum, you get a walk. Where the Kaiso? Where about Rowley lying? How many calypsos you heard about Emailgate? A man who come to say people going to murder but hold a piece of paper for 6 months. How many you heard about Delcy Gate? How many Latin beat calypso you heard about Maduro and Rowley whining in a conga line while the gas deal goes sour? How many Kaiso you hear about the small pin with Asha Javid in West Hills writing in the front page of the Express? How many you heard about the lack of procurement? How many you heard about the Obia man from Mason Hall by way of Lekoto putting spirit lash on Patrick Mervyn Augustus Manning? How much Kaiso you hear about Brian Manning loving up the man who put spirit lash on his father? And this fodder for Calypso? Where Calypso gone? Joe Newell, where has it gone? And just to show you where how deep and far Calypso and the newspapers and the mass media has gone, I take you to the Express paper, Tuesday, 31st August 2021, where I nearly choke on my doubles and spit out my coffee when I read this. On the 59th independence anniversary, where we are supposed to be celebrating our national anthem, our motto, our words, where we are supposed to be celebrating who we are, a melting pot of ethnicities, religions, culture, class, Trinidad and Tobago, sweet Trinidad and Tobago. The Express newspaper chooses to promote the most vile, disgusting, racist Calypsonian who espoused racist epithets in his lyrics, his venom, his disgust, his stupidity, his arrogance, his nonsense over decades. The Express chooses to promote this person, a man who we saw driving down the highway in a CPEP van under PNM, shouting racist epithets at people who saw him driving wild, and then claim that them call he something else, creating or attempting to create division. A man who walk on the Savannah stage and use words that our children should never hear. A man who single-handedly brought Calypso as a weapon against East Indian people. The Express newspaper on this day of independence, look what they write. Crow plans to celebrate his 69th birthday with a bang. Who the hell cares? We are supposed to be a united country. Here the Express is celebrating a divider, a short midget divider. Shamelessly. A man who we saw on a video during the last election with Trinidad Killer. This one here. Trinidad Killer talking to him, this one, and the mayor, and they cussing him and drinking and carrying on. And look what he says for our young children, our young black children, our young brown children, our young douglAR children, our young mixed children. The Express is promoting this on a day of independence when we supposed to celebrate the red, white, and black, and all of us together. Here the Express. Bard Winston Rollins Crow intends celebrating his 69th birthday on this 59th Independence Anniversary Day by drinking a cocktail of Hennessy, white brandy and water. Who the hell cares? Express. Go and read his lyrics. Go and read what he sang. Go and read how he devastated Calypso and took Calypso from a Trinidad and Tobago uniting force, an information force, a fact-finding force, into a racist weapon against East Indian people, bringing about the collapse of the art form, collapse of the industry, collapse of the tents. And y'all get this thing off my screen. Short man flipping syndrome. Disgusting. Express. And then the Express continues on this Independence Day. And I show you how they play games with subliminal messages, subliminal marketing, and showing you how dangerous they are. And then some of you buy the basket and start to attack Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the UNC without reading and checking for yourself. Check her policies. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, the East Indian Prime Minister, gave more money and funding to Calypso, soca, arts, steel pan movement than Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. In 1 year, she gave more money to the arts and soca and pan, Calypso and chutney than Rowley did in 5 years. Yet you all want to talk about Kamala and abstain versus no. Look at the Express. They talk about a COVID challenge and they put prominent citizens. Right? So these are the prominent citizens. I'm just going to show you. You could come in and show them and then pull back out. Right? These are the prominent citizens that the Express chooses to highlight and put their picture on the paper on Independence Day. Okay? It's a bit blurry, but say what? Go back. Right. Here's some of them. Penelope Beckles, PNM. Paul Keynes Douglas, Independent, but Afro-Trinbagonian. Patsy Calise, Independent. Claude Barkley, right? But out of this whole group, there is nobody who espouses or supports the United National Congress. And when they find or try to pretend that they find somebody that could espouse the virtues and support for the policies of Kamala Persad-Bissessar with COVID-19, the dome, security dome, vaccination policy, education, the economy, gas, diversification of the economy, agro processing, all of these things that they could talk about. The Express find Winston Dukaran. Where they find he? Laying down under a rock somewhere, anti-Kamala. They find Boti Wari, who are 3 people watching some show he doing there, me know, but he's a vex UNC, looking to try to ride at something by talking the current UNC right through because he ain't get what he want. And my boy Stephen Cadiz, because he ain't get choose for a seat, he is a vexy, so he's not in my UNC anymore. But they put that to pretend like they've been balanced. This is what you get in your newspapers. Now y'all wouldn't notice that because it goes in subconsciously, subliminally, to give you the impression that this country must remain PNM. This country must stay and be governed in calm, no matter what oppression, no matter what sort of nonsense, no matter how much corruption, no matter how much thieving, no matter how much gutting procurement, no matter how much Rowley controlling all your money, no matter how much he shout at you all, no matter how he disrespect every group, disrespect labor, disrespect women, disrespect children, disrespect UNC, disrespect half the country, disrespect Tobago, he must still be a prime minister and pretend like we must respect him and listen to him. As we talk about respect, well boy, I now find Ethelbert where you was all the time. When the big general from the USA come down, may I see you as a small pin. When you went to open the 2 cutlass vessel that Rowley and Smallpin buy without procurement and ball is a government to government, I see them walk past you and leave you there with your ass behind to bring drinks. You come to give we a Independence Day message? Where the lagoon? How Lavanti flood? How Maraval flood? How Diego Martin flood? The lagoon move? Ethelbert? You disgrace of a human being. Here the next one. Cujo, talking about sport. Athletes told to vaccinate, but no specifics on resumption of sport. This total collapse in Trinidad and Tobago across the board. Cujo, the ball is in the CMO's hands. She's the Minister of Sport. But the ball in Parshram's hand, and in his hand, he trying to get a PNM honorary doctorate for talking one bag of nonsense and protecting Rowley and Convent Girl. So he get an honorary doctorate of nothing. So the ball in court. Minister of Sport and Community Development, Shamfa Cujo, continues to encourage athletes and sports stakeholders to get vaccinated. But unlike other sectors, no specific targets or dates are in place to resume sports. But she was the one who stated no priority for our Olympic athletes, no priority for our elite athletes in vaccination. Remember back in March? And I came and I tell Ole, but what madness. Our athletes need to get outside there. They need to train. They need to practice. They need to compete ahead of Tokyo. She didn't listen. We did nothing. Send our athletes out to get blowout and then come in to say, oh, I did a good job because I look lighter than I was before. I don't have any information. You are absolutely correct, Shampa Kujo. You should have stopped right there. I don't have any information. Anytime you get up to debate in the parliament, just get up and say, Madam Speaker, I am glad to join this debate on this budget bill, finance bill 2021-2022. I have no information. Thank you, Madam Speaker. That's all you good for, Shampa Kujo. That is your speech. Whenever you're going to a sport function or do something, just say, I have no information. Brilliant. And stop right there. The douglAR all go support you once you stop there. I told you all about Douglas Camacho, the next one in the 1-2 tandem of stupidity in sport for the PNM, the chairman of the sport company, who's also the chairman of the hockey board, and cannot up to now put on a hockey pitch for hockey children to play, who could not get money for the hockey teams to go to Chile to prepare for their Junior World Cup qualifying tournament, who send them to the slaughter, they land and get 15-0 in the tail. Well, out of 7 teams, we come 6th. Congratulations, PNM. You all may think it's funny, but I don't. Sending our children out there to be dramatically drubbed is disgusting. It could damage them, lose their confidence, any ability they want to train and move on. It could thwart their success for generations to come. They may never want to see that kind of competition again, but it's not their fault. It's because of the lack of management, lack of skill, lack of understanding, lack of resources, and just pure lack of heart of this one. But she put a lot of effort in changing how she look. Why you don't put that effort into preparing my children to go and compete? You could compete now. You could go in a Miss Tobago pageant. Now Tobago don't even want you. Move, Sheena. Now let me tell you something, please, my people. Keith Christopher Rowley has been a member of parliament since 1991. Since 1991, going on 30 years in Diego Martin West. Up to now, I live in Diego Martin West by my father since 1980. Me and see Keith Rowley have an office there once. He might go there when the media there to pretend there. He might go there to drink scotch and eat shrimps and look for grabby wabby wife. He might do them kind of thing. But to have an office day like Patrick Manning used to have, like Kamala Persad-Bissessar had, like Bastio Pandey had, like all of these prime ministers had, where they see people, see constituents, and sit there for hours hearing the plight of the people, staying in touch with the ground. Rowley never even bothered with that. But all your media would not highlight that because you all are happy. Your shareholders are making billions on the side telling us about the profits while people can't get a hamper and people losing their work and suffering. Those corporations who support Rowley talking about billions of profit. Well, I am reading when some of you try to claim that Rowley, PNM and UNC is the same thing and Kamala Rowley same thing, the nonsense that you all spew, it just doesn't fit in a brain that reads and can understand. Let me give you a stark example. And many of you all would have read this article and maybe would not have understood, Daily Express, News Extra, page 17, Monday, 30th August 2021. Nkosi has a dream. Teenager needs financing to become a doctor. Well, I was very interested in that story. You don't have to come in. I was very interested in that story one time because I love high achievement. I love children who put their head down, discipline, work hard, and get success. So I jumped to read this story. Nkosi has a dream. But then it worried me too. The teenager needs financing to become a doctor. Just on that headline. If Kamala was Prime Minister, this article would not be written because he would have had financing from Kamala, Fazal Karim, and the UNC government to go and be a doctor. This would be a non-starter. The article would have said, Nkosi is off, and he's going to become a doctor. Thanks to Kamala and Fazal Karim and the UNC. You find him. Yes, that's the boy, the young man. Brilliant young man. Nkosi Clarence has a dream to achieve what everyone thinks. He's from Bagatelle Road, Diego Martin. Why is that significant? Because that is in the constituency of Keith Christopher Rowley. This boy is 19 years old. Keith Christopher Rowley has been the member of parliament for going on 30 years in Diego Martin West. This boy is 19 years old. That means he born in 2002. In 2002 to 2010, the PNM was in charge. From 2015 to 2021, the PNM was in charge. So the PNM and Rowley, his MP, have been in charge of his life for 14 of 19 years. Keith Christopher Rowley has been Prime Minister for 6 of his 19 years. He is a constituent of the Prime Minister, Keith Christopher Rowley. Yet I am reading an article in the Express that said this young man, this brilliant man, this boy who came through the odds, pushed between peer pressure and so on, and is now trying to go to be a doctor, had to have an article and do a GoFundMe and hack a barbecue and curry queue and shrimp queue and burger queue. And his MP say, for... Will you finish it off? Right. Do you see how interesting this story gets? Do you now know what is the heart and soul of the Prime Minister? Who probably does not even know that I'm talking about this. Who probably didn't even read this newspaper to even know that his constituent requires money to go and study to be a doctor. A boy who come out of the ghetto, where he brethren them getting gunned down and shot down, where they run out with the law, where he said the only 2 who make it through, it's he and his brother to fight through school. He who did not have Montessori education, his early education was Sesame Street, because he didn't have no early childhood center and education, because the PNM didn't think about that. Because Coleman, Butt and Rowley and them just get 10,000 votes no matter what they do. Isn't this an interesting story? Well, Nkosi, my brother, God bless you. I hope that you all support Nkosi. Look at the newspaper, Express, on the thing. You could probably get out there because Rowley would never help him. He requires $50,000. He's going right now to study. You can help Nkosi become a doctor. Hashtag HNBAD. Online campaign initiated by a good Samaritan, Dr. Keston Kwao. Thank you very much. Please help this constituent of the Prime Minister's constituency, Keith Christopher Rowley. And if that don't show you that Rowley care about none of all you, if he don't care about his own little constituents from in Bagatelle right there, where he spend money and give his golfing buddy a contract for a big stadium sport and then lock it up from the very children in Bagatelle that they can't use it. All you go ahead and keep talking nonsense. If Kamala Prasad was Prime Minister, Nkosi is not her constituent, but he would not have to be raising money and thinking about whether he's going to be a doctor or not, because she and Fazal Karim increased gate from 400 million to 800 million, and he would have had no problem. Furthermore, he also plays football, hockey, pan, all kind of thing. So he has extracurricular activities. So under the office of the Prime Minister, there's something called the Prime Minister's Fund also. And he could have gotten funding from the Prime Minister's Fund. Who is the Prime Minister now? Oreo, heartless, don't care, nastiness, who didn't even care about his own child, call it an outside child, and celebrate inside child. The Prime Minister's office has a fund for people like Nkosi. The Prime Minister is his member of parliament. Why is this boy and why is Dr. Kwao having to raise funds for this boy? And y'all think I must say Happy Independence Day? We take with freedom and dip we finger for an idiot. Prime Minister Rowley, IMF funds to be used to bolster business, and he promises that the funds, he will be as transparent as can possibly. Oh Lord, I don't even know what to say. Let Kamala Prasad deal with Rowley on this IMF thing. The IMF give us 644 million US. Rowley done ball with Imba that we spent $5 billion on COVID-19 relief. We get 644 million US after Coleman but say that the prescriptions of the IMF are too onerous and so on, and therefore we took a loan from the Chinese to get CIAO. All the CIAO going and pour down the drain. I don't know what to say, but let Kamala Prasad deal with this ballet clown they call Rowley. Run it.
So there you have it. You would have seen a video showing the contradictions with respect to the way in which the SDR money is to be used between the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance. Each seems to have a different idea as to how the money is to be spent. Now, it is very important that there be transparency and accountability in terms of how this money is to be spent, because they have already reported they've spent $5 billion on COVID, and where is it? What do they have to show for it? This is an additional $4 billion, which is to help, as the IMF says, during the pandemic, in their guidelines of how it is to be used. Where will this $4 billion go? So we would want that accountability and transparency as to how this money is going to be spent. It does not take a crystal ball to see that government will take this money and use it to plug the deficit, budget deficit. The Minister of Finance was at pains in his midterm review to talk about how much deficit there would be, how much shortfall in revenue there would be. Indeed, now there's a tax amnesty trying to draw out more revenue from people. So we know budget deficit is very, very huge in this fiscal year 2021, and government may well want to use these monies for plugging the holes in the budget deficit. However, the IMF has given recommendations as to how the money is to be spent, and we trust that the government will honor the recommendations the IMF made as to how the money is to be spent. I turn now.
Now, if y'all believe that Keith Christopher Rowley is going to tell you and follow any rules as to how your money will be spent, well, I can't laugh as much as I want to because I will get asthma attack. Keith Christopher Rowley, who criticized Manning for meeting with one CEO in 2006 when he met at Whitehall, the Prime Minister's office, with the CEO of Sunway. Since Keith Rowley has become Prime Minister, all he does do is meet with CEO of gas company, CEO of oil company, CEO of bank, CEO of Chinese company, CEO of contracted company, CEO of shipbuilding company. All the procurement goes through him and the office of the Prime Minister. His small pin, his Richard Young small pin, is in charge of all investments. His friend Noel Garcia is in charge of all expenditure. His other friends Newman George and A.A. Kwameda are spending your money. There's no corporate governance, no eyes on the money. Ministers are purchasing vessels, ministers are procuring. Never before have we ever seen such breakdown in corporate governance. And Rowley says, who better to spend your money than him? A man who gravel rolled from by a hospital somewhere to by he. Listen to Rowley. But you, the people, you will be told along the way, we will be as open as possible. What that mean? We will be as open as possible. We're not shutting down Petrotrin. And if you was closing your fridge, let me repeat, we're not shutting down Petrotrin. The board tell we shut it down. Winfred Espine go swear on our Bible and say, we never tell Rowley shut down nothing. Rowley shut that down on his own. What about the fake oil case? They appealed that yet? You all wait there for transparency, accountability about your money. 23 billion gone. They don't want to answer nothing in Parliament. They have people in Parliament shutting down questions left, right and center. The Parliament is a joke right now. Under the Constitution that the original Prime Minister lied to the opposition to produce a big liar, the biggest liar in the Commonwealth, who is now the Prime Minister, who telling all you, hold up selector, I go be as open as possible with all you. Yeah, look, he and his friend there. When he hear thing, he call his friend. Yes, he say, hey, Never mind I is the head of the National Security Council. Never mind I is the head of Petrotrin. Never mind I appoint the board of Petrotrin. Never mind I is the Prime Minister. Never mind is my minister called for the audit. Never mind is my PNM that do the audit and stop the thing and do the thing. Never mind all of that. I call my boy. Hey, my brethren them. You ever call him to ask him what was them epithets he was using? What was all them words he was using when he was whining bareback and talking about he love you and Stuarty like all three you could go in the mud and love up? You never call him? Or he's pum-pum governance too? That pum-pum real expanding boy Rowley. Rowley, you're very free and open with your pum-pum. All right. But wait and nearly throw with this. As you're talking about open as possible and transparent. Were you open and transparent with the Bridgemans when you tell Tobogonians that was crooked money, but it went through the cabinet riggers, and then your small pen had to say, no, boss, we was in Tobago, boss, me and you, we was drinking scotch and eating shrimps. Oh, yes, I approve that over the phone, yes. And the Bridgeman's money is still running 175 million and counting that he called crooked money, but he approved the crooked money with prime ministerial cabinet authority overarching, then went to the cabinet for covering approval. What about the Chinese loans? You was open with that, or you're signing NDA for vaccine and all. What about the Chinese contract with HCC when you were the Minister of Housing and say you ain't know how that reached the cabinet, but it could only reach the cabinet with the sitting minister signing the red file for it to go to cabinet. But you come and tell, oh, I don't know about that. What about the tenders that Angus Young, small pin brother, all of a sudden in September 2015, Angus Young, the CEO of a small rat-tail company where we just drink rum on the avenue by Frankie's, zero public sector work, and 4 years into PNM and his brother being a super minister, $3.81 billion. We ain't getting no re-accounting now. It could be more than that now. $3.81 billion. All of a sudden, Angus Young become the tender winner and talking and buffing on cycling track and talking about his brother was a triathlon champion. Lying. They had no Stuart Smallpin Young win anything. The only thing he win was in West Hills to have Asha Javidi take she from the Attorney General under the PNM, John Jeremy. That's the only thing he win. This clown, this total idiot Angus Young, all you look at him and feel he's so bright. Oh, you are such a good CEO. Oh my goodness, we need to pay our taxes and do our duty while your brother rich. And since your brother rich, your company just get 3.81 billion. Well, all of us want to work and serve like that. And your father in charge of directing investment to your brother who's in the office of the Prime Minister next to Rowley, and you talking your big dotish clown. Move in, man. What about the Clico portfolio that involved anger? Put him back. His father was on the board of Sagico, and the very government of which is his brother Smallpin, and this is Smallpin Jr. So imagine he pin smaller than his big brother own. Lord, you need a microscope to see that. But he brother swearing in the government, and the brother is part of the government when Maritime bid 300 million more than Sagico. And Coleman but come to say, well, they awarded it to Sagico because Maritime is not a solid company and not a local company. Sagico is from Barbados, and me and no Barbados is local. If it was local, then we'd have a good Prime Minister. We'd have Mia Amor Motley. Move this clown who can ride a bike now and feel good. Big dunce. When we talking about PNM, let me talk, where the minister, man? Because every time I open my papers, it's somebody with a water tank, somebody with a bucket, somebody crying for water. Where is NCW minister, man? Hey, boy, we need to put you in the police force, boy. Because for you to be able to spot a man in a van while you in a function and the van traveling at 60 miles per hour, and you know that man so good that you know that man should be in the passenger seat rather than changing gear in the driver's seat and mashing brakes, you need to work with the police, boy, because we need some mako like you, because you is the minister, man. How you know that man so good? You know that man so good, but yet the water position in Trinidad and Tobago is the worst in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Your man and them can't even bathe. They smelling stink because of you. Nobody could get water. Leave it there. 2 days of no pipe-borne water in almost 2 years. Kingdom Avenue, Arima residence. Arima, and Arima have something to do with water, or the name Arima. In Arima, 2 years, only pipe-borne water for 2 days. Then, one day after public appeal, Wassa trucks take water to Belmont. And Belmont is the minister man, good friend, Small Pin, is the MP. The super minister, Rowley's O'Halloran, Small Pin is the MP for Belmont. And people are to protest in Belmont to get water. But Angus Young, who's friends with this minister man too, get $3.81 billion of work. He just win tenders since he brother recusing himself in the cabinet. He just turned to be the most brilliant creative CEO. He turned a little rat stale company into a merchant bank. He getting foreign exchange, all kind of thing. But Angus Young and Minister Man, them kind of close too. I ain't done with Minister Man, you know. The acting CEO of Wassa, because they fire one CEO because the CEO did not really agree with the report on the man by the minister man, because the man was in the van and they did not agree with that. And the man who investigated the man, they told him to change his story on the man because the man at the top saw the man in the van. And this minister man wanted to make sure passionately that that man suffered. What that man do you? What that man do you? Like, we have to change the phrase. Hell hath no fury like a minister man scorned. I feel we're going with that one. I feel we have to, because the whole country has no water and you have time to study man in van. Wassa to fix lifetime of woes. And the Newsday prints this, you know, lifetime of woes. Not a lifetime. Newsday. 2014 was just 7 years ago. Under Kamla Prasad Bisesa and Minister of Public Utilities Ganga Singh, 74% of this population had a 24/7 supply. This was increased from 2009 levels of 21%. Ganga Singh and Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC increased 24/7 water supply in your house from 21% to 74%, and was heading up in 2015 when the PNM came in with Rowley and leaked no investment, cut everything, no development, no infrastructure, no management, and hole and busing. And then they tell me it's drought when it's really pipe busting and nothing doing. And now we are down to 18%, 24/7. That was 3 months ago. Now it look like we lower than that. No water in Diego Martin, nothing going on. Imagine Diego Martin have the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister. Well, they have the nosebreaker too, but he's a dance who couldn't even get in Fatima properly. But they had two of them big boys, and the whole of Diego Martin had no water. But the Newsday is telling us it's a lifetime of woes. Newsday, you lie. Y'all just try to ignore all the improvements under Bastille Pandey, under Ganga Singh then, under Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC, because the Newsday under Judy Raymond only understand floppy pipe, soft pipe. That all them know, all Judy Raymond know now, it's soft pipe. The horny goat weed, not working. Double the dose. Moving on from bricks to books. Well, this is the great movie. Move the minister, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to tell you. Because when I was discussing this editorial with somebody who was aware and who has become aware that the mass media is PNM centric and PNM centered and Rowley centered. And that's why the only reason why we have Keith Rowley as Prime Minister. Because the mass media, the Express 2010 to 2015, #1 investigative journalist Asha Javid, who she loving up with since 2013, Small Pin Young. Who she was loving up before that, former PNM Attorney General John Jeremy, and about 2 other PNM going on all she business. And I don't mind if she loves PNM, but if you are writing for the #1 newspaper in the country and you have an emotional emotional bias towards one side cannot be fair journalism. And the Express knew this, because when I bust it on Power 102, they moved she from investigative political journalism into the business section without an apology, without an explanation. And every article that she wrote, which was fraught with bias to the PNM and lies against the UNC, would get 89,000 papers per day. And if 2 or 3 people read that headline per day, her lies infiltrate the brain and the perception of the population. Then the morning talk shows and the radio shows with some fellas like JW who have no O-levels that you can't even rub them together because they don't want, you can't rub one. You understand? JW and them then take these PNM headlines and espouse it through the airwaves on 16 PNM radio stations. Then in the evening, if that was not enough, in one day, you could turn on TV6, 360,000 people watching it, and the first 8 minutes is pure PNM propaganda. You can go to CNC3, and you can turn on, for the first 8 minutes, 160,000 people watching back then, pure PNM propaganda, PNM, PNM, PNM. Don't you think that would have a great influence on your minds? Well, let me show you the insanity and the level to which Trinidad and Tobago has reached. Because this intelligent woman I was talking to could not believe when I went through this. Now you all take your minds back. Don't let the douglAR influence you at all. Kamla is known for many policies. Children Life Fund, saving 153 lives that children would have died by giving them up to $1 million to help them, their parents give them surgery. So no curricue, no barbecue, no nothing. Laptop program, many others, but let's deal with that. Kamla Prasad Bisesa said early o'clock, from since she came in, put on her boots after she swearing and go and check people in the flooding, shake their hands, see what the problems were, and put her ministers to work to dredge rivers, to clear it out, to stop the flooding, to mitigate local government, ODPM, to act in case of flooding. She acted to help people one time. All you don't remember that, Kamla bad, Kamla bad, Kamla. Kamla also instructed the Minister of Education, Tim Gopi Singh, to begin getting our children ready for the digital age. She said that in the first month, in May to June 2010, Tim Gopi Singh started immediately to go and do the research, bring cabinet note, and then by 2011, the laptop program for all Form 1 students began. She was then working towards that and then going to go backwards into the primary schools from standard 4, go down for tablets. She was going to get online Wi-Fi across the board to ensure that children, and especially those, after she did a survey with Dr. Selwyn Ryan and so on, to see the at-risk areas, who needed the help, where the gap in education was the biggest. She was ensuring that those areas would have free Wi-Fi areas set up so that children could study and get an advantage to get out there and compete in the education system. Kamla was preparing the country and the country's children 11 years ago for the digital age through laptops. If you all think I lie, Archie, they may think I lie. Just give them a little taste to remind them. Run it.
The future is here and settling nicely into the classrooms of Trinidad and Tobago. Indeed, it is a future that engages the minds of young people in ways that have begun to change the dynamics of education in this Twin Island Caribbean nation. The digital era has arrived, and it's one that excites today the leaders of tomorrow, preparing them with a different learning landscape than existed when simple teaching tools like chalk and talk were the norms. Starting with a laptop for all.
Just a little reminder. When I finish, all you could watch that whole video to remind you. But then I open my Newsday newspaper, the Judy Raymond Hortney Goatweed newspaper, the Rowley and Rice newspaper, the biased Newsday that tries to promote the PNM and Rowley as something palatable when he's a total disgrace in all spheres. Don't joke. Newsday, Section A, page 12, Saturday, August 28, 2021. Editorial. Moving on from bricks and books. Moving on from bricks and books. 2021. In that video I just showed you, they said the future was here under Kamala 2011. But then came Rowley. And where we are now, Newsday in 2021, now talking about moving on from bricks and books. Kamala was moving on since 2011. But not for Judy Raymond and them. Because whatever Rowley could have given she, but he can't give she now. But what he could have given she, Kamala didn't have the tools to give Judy Raymond and them that. Pum governance rule. But let's see where pum governance gets us. Here the editorial of the Newsday on Saturday. While there's empty classroom space, there is a shortage of the basic equipment students need to go online and access their virtual classrooms. Amid all the grand celebrations this month, it seems the focus on addressing the laptop shortage has been removed from center stage. One, the Newsday now realized there's a laptop shortage. They never stated or defended or gave praise to Kamala and Tim Gopi Singh and the UNC government for their laptop initiative. But now they know it's a laptop shortage. Okay. But clarity is still needed as to how many children do not yet have access to what has now become a basic educational need. So the Newsday is saying in 2021, the laptop is now a basic educational need. Kamala Prasad Bisesa said that in 2010 into 2011 that a laptop, Wi-Fi, online, tablet, devices were a basic necessity, a basic educational tool. 11 years later, the Newsday is now agreeing with Kamala Prasad Bisesa after assisting, aiding and abetting, putting a clueless, heartless, lying clown as Prime Minister. The Newsday continued, and they said they don't have the information. Well, we give you the information all the time. In the last 18 months, 46,690 children did not go online. They missed out 18 months of their education. The government has only purchased 8,000 devices. They ordered 20,000, 12,000 have not even arrived yet. The private sector has given a certain amount, leaving a deficit of 38,369. That is the numbers from Minister Bundles. She is not too happy too, because after the COVID-19 and the erectile dysfunction, the honey goatweed not working too. So, but that the information. The Newsday that's giving us an editorial and supposed to provide us with information is telling us that they don't have the information. Well, the douglAR just gave you the information that come from the Minister Bundles, right? The Newsday continued. It is precisely because of the vagaries of demand and supply. If you're eating or drinking, put it down now. Don't. Because I don't want to be responsible for all your going hospital, choking, and then get Brazilian or Delta variant when you're reaching there. So stop eating or drinking now. Listen to the Newsday. Let me repeat. Page 12, Newsday, Section A, Saturday, August 28, 2021. It is precisely because of the vagaries of demand and supply that the state, meaning the PNM government, needs to consider even more measures to help students out. For example, in many countries today, students receive heavy discounts from large retailers for laptop purchases. In 2021, the Newsday is telling the government to try and give discounts, try and put something in place so that children could get discount to go for their parents to go and buy laptops. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the UNC, Tim Gopi Singh were giving the children free laptops. The Newsday find that is rubbish. Them want to ask for the discount. Go and beg for a discount. What do you all want me to say again? The Newsday continued. It's always good because he was talking at a ceremony to open a school. Keith Rowley attacked Tim Gopi Singh and Kamla Prasad Bisesa way back in 2016 or 2017, saying how they lie. Rowley said openly, telling the media, go and ask Tim Gopi Singh and Kamla Prasad Bisesa where the 106 schools they built. Well, Tim Gopi Singh immediately provided pictures, footage with music and names and showed every single one of the 106 schools completed by Tim Gopi Singh, Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC. He showed every single one. The media didn't go back by Rowley and say, hey, we went and asked what you say, but look what happened by. Like you ain't know what was going on. In that first 5-year period, Rowley built not one school. Tim Gopi Singh and Kamla Prasad Bisesa also left about 62 schools at various stages of completion, from 92% to about 40%. Keith Rowley, just like the Children's Hospital, left them there to rot and let people go and steal and damage all of the assets of the country that were left there for our children. Now, in 2021, he opened 2 or 3 schools that Tim and them had leave at 92%. And listen to the Newsday now. Listen to this. It is always good to see the education system getting the much needed infrastructure upgrades. And many of these commissioning ceremonies were undoubtedly the fruit of years of effort and planning. But when Kamla and Tim put a lot of effort and planning into building 106 schools and then nearly finishing another 62, the Newsday never said, this is good to see. This has taken lots of years of planning and heart and promotion. Rowley completes 4 schools and that's what they say. And y'all still think we living in a democracy? These people are sick. This newspaper Newsday has to be sick. What would you all like me to say? Can you make sense of it? And now we're looking at the children. Look at this newspaper. Back to school. Now if it was back to school, these laptops, children would be have over 10 years of free laptops, tablets, Wi-Fi across the board. 9 years before the pandemic, we would have been ready, if Kamala was Prime Minister, to handle the pandemic seamlessly. But no, the Newsday begging for discount. So here I see an ad from up in the classifieds. HP Intel, $5,635 under the PNM. Kamala would have given that free. FHD Touch, RAM, Intel, $7,195. Newsday and the PNM begging to give all your discount. 4G RAM Inspiron, $3,450. Let me see some more the prices they're telling, they're begging for discount. So Kamala laptop was nonsense, giving the children from the taxpayers that you pay tax. Kamala said give the children, future generation, digital age, job creation, creativity, diversification, give them. The PNM say fire burn that, fire burn Kamala. Newsday say fire burn Kamala. And now say, please government, go and try and get discount. $7,700 for Dell Latitude, $4,900 for HP laptop. They have a 4GB Win Home refurbished, a refurbished one for $3,325. The Newsday and Judy Raymond telling the PNM, get them discount. And while that going on, the PNM showing that they are out there working for you. They are just brilliant and amazing. Right? Look, Pum Pum Governance. Look, your Minister of Education put there by the Prime Minister, who whatever he's telling her, it has her looking in a kind of way. I mean, maybe his lyrics and his mouth now make up for the lack of ability in other areas, because that is plenty blush behind a mask. Move, Sheena. The PNM working for you, my people. Your business crash, businesses shut down, profit foreclosing, houses going, mortgage payments, bills pile up. Your children have no laptop, education, doctor. People in Rowley constituency need money to even try to be a doctor. You mash up your tire, bus rim in all the pothole, bridge mash up and so on. Flooding, food prices going up. You know what the PNM did? They put up 260 mailbox. All you feel like Newsday, Section A, Monday, August 30th, page 16. 260 mailboxes installed at Demerara. And 2 minutes, Lahore Keta Talparo MP. Foster coming, you opening mailbox. Take care, Rowley, opening your girl, you know. Go and check in, boy. Right? You're going to open mailbox? Foster coming. What about that thing? The police check you at all, you know. Call your boy now. And Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Penelope Beckles, cut a ribbon at the mailbox. Oh God! The mailbox key distribute. All you, line, all you make me cry, man. All you make me cry. Archie, come in close, because they go feel Anil lie. Come in close. They cutting ribbon and handing out key to mailbox, you know, boy. Archie, why the oil taking so long? The computer slow. Your work camera give you an next laptop. You is not a child. You a big old man, Archie. Archie, forget it, take it too long. Right. I living in Diego Martin. And let me tell you something. Diego Martin are the Prime Minister as a MP. It had the Minister of Finance, who is like the Prime Minister, right? If you know how the cabinet and things does work, the Minister of Finance is like the Prime Minister, because you could agree what you want in cabinet. If the Minister of Finance don't want to do what you do, you get no fundings, right? So the or die what you was doing, Archie, and I'm a buffing you. Look, they set up a ribbon. They set up a ribbon to cut an open mailbox and hand out key. In a pandemic, you know. Hey, all your people. Oh God. I don't know. I dribbling all kind of things. I'm sorry. Hey, let me get back serious. If my eyes watering. Oh Lord, I need my Ventolin again, asthma. Imbot and Rowley's MPs in Diego Martin. They have one nose breaker, sell paint or whatever. But all over Diego Martin, you driving through, bush coming through the pavement, bush in the drain, look like me and OFC Pep walking again, the whole place looking dirty, Diego Martin looking like a shanty town. And them have the most powerful Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, and they still can't take care of simple things. I met one of the PNM council, a lovely lady in Massey Stores, Alice Glende. Paul, you know, so pleasant and sweet and nice and hardworking. You could see like she care. PNM councillor. But let me tell you, I don't blame no councillor. Councillor is the worst work in the history of the planet, because you have no power to do nothing. When you have people like Rowley and Imbot above you, and them are taking your call, and them are listening to you, and you could write 300 letters, you can't get a pothole fix, you can't get extra CPEP gam, you can't get extra garbage contract, you to clean up the place, and the councillor and them just be living right by the people, and they keep writing and calling, and Rowley and them are taking the call, and the minister's not taking the call, and the nosebreaker only studying to go up high. Anyway, I'll go deal with the nosebreaker one of these days. But a lovely lady, the councillor, very pleasant and hardworking. PNM councillor, you know, then one wonders how you could have such nice people as councillor. And then when you look up, you have a scum bucket as a Prime Minister. I don't know. Talking about that now. So the PNM opening and giving keys for mailbox. But Palatuvia Jetty collapsing. Bridge on Omira Road deemed unsafe by Works Ministry in Omira Road. Look at the day at a block off, but them giving out mailbox and key. The death-defying bridge, danger in Santa Cruz. That is a bridge in Trinidad and Tobago, you know. A bridge that look like it there since 1921. Well, look at this, another bridge in Moruga. Watch the PNM infrastructure Boy, Archie, I feel you could put up that, man. Archie, put up, yes. Let me hear.
The bridge breakdown with a truck inside of it. That is thing. Well, boy, we had to make the wrong circle in the now.
Yes, boy. All right. Well, we no audio, but it's all right. I go talk over it. Put it back down, Archie. It's all right. But look at that. Truck fall down, bridge collapse, landslips, road. Archie, show me some more. And you know, in this case, some fellas, all your, I don't know what's going on in Trinidad and Tobago. All your fellas gone and save the driver and then rob the man. Oh Lord, Trinidad and Tobago, I know what to say. Look at this. Look at the MP. Michelle Benjamin, this is the work that Rohan and them do. Look how them paved that road there. This is PNM, but they're opening mailbox. Them giving out key and cutting ribbon from mailbox. Look at this. And all you find, Kamla and Rowley is the same. Rohan and Jack Warner is the same. Rohan and Surujatan Ramachan is the same. Road was smooth. Yes, it was smooth, man. Maybe Gasparello needed some more work and so on. But road was smooth. Down all over the place. Surujatan Ramachan all in Tabakit. Some of the old bridge fix and thing. But look at what PNM doing. Plumitan farmers lose big after floods. Yes, keep showing them thing, Archie. This is the infrastructure of your country. Rowley spent $320 billion. And this is it. All you wean all yourself of the government because the government had to pay rent. The government had to pay al recusal. The government had to give contract. Rowley friend and them had to spend the money. When you talking, yeah, more thing there, you show them thing, you know. All right, but here what? Rohan, as I call your name. Rohan, boy. Oh Lord, Rohan. I mean, I'm a swimming coach. I believe everybody in Trinidad and Tobago should be taught to swim. I believe, and we were putting things in place to build 36 extra 25-meter pools and make swimming compulsory in primary schools for children 8 years and under. You don't have to be a George Bovell, but you have to be able to be water competent, water safe, go to the beach, go to the river, go down the islands, and be safe. But Rohan said that I didn't know that my skills would have come through when we going on a water taxi. We could have drunk. What is that? Play the video, let me see. Or I just pick, oh God! Here now, that look like the Titanic. And here, and this is what happens under the PNM. Because Carl Mimbut was in charge under Manning to buy something as Minister of Works and Transport. He went and buy the Sue, Latia, Katia and all kind of thing. The Sue, they buy it for something like 27 to 34 million. They spend the next 30 million or 40 million trying to fix it. It never sailed one day. What's the Sue? That he called Mimbut Sue. You then get Rowley. And Rowley says, after Bridgman's fiasco, the board ain't no good. So he put in ministers to purchase and procure. And then he put who? Call Mimbut on a committee with Smallpin, LaHunt and Shamfa, Chain Shiface, Cujo. And this is what all you get. This is what happens. And now all the boat and them sinking. And it could talk about, well, it might just be a little maintenance. Maintenance when people drunk in. All you go and drunk my people. We move in. Where Gypsy when you need him, but Gypsy sing a tune for your boy now. The PNM cut your vocal cords. Report illegal development, says Rowley and the PNM. Because of flooding. Now they're saying it's illegal development. Well, if we report an illegal development, let me report Greenville. Rowley was Minister of Housing. Al-Rawi was on the Housing Board. Andre Montai was the chairman back in 2004, 5, 6 when Greenville went ahead without approvals by Rowley and Noel Garcia, even though Camille Robinson Regis and her ministry had blanked Greenville because they did not change the land use and they said it was a flood-prone floodplain area. But Rowley went ahead and people up there now frightened to drown in Greenville. Let's investigate that. Let's report those illegal developments. What about Las Alturas? What about Edinburgh Towers? What about all the projects under Rowley and Noel Garcia? Let's report those projects because Rowley said in a Guardian article in 2017 front page, yes, we had to cut corners in order to get job done. The job never got done and Rowley admitted to breaking the law, including when he opened his sheep farm in Tobago without an EIA and without a certificate of clearance, because that's what Rowley does. He does things by circumventing the law, lied in Parliament, and the Newsday Express and the media in Trinidad and Tobago uplifted him to Prime Minister over when we had an EBC that is PNM. And you all say, happy independence? Well, if all you're happy, well, God bless all you. A man who breached curfew to carry food for his wife and child fined $8,000. Think about that. Carrying food for his wife and child, and a citizen is fined $8,000 for breaching Rowley's curfew. Was Rowley, convent girl, for not wearing the mask or wearing the mask down or as a chin strap on several occasions? Were they fined for breaches? The Grenada Minister of Health is paying his fine because they saw a picture of him without his mask. Was Rowley, who contracted COVID with an invitation to Andrew Gabriel's daughter's wedding? How many of those ministers were in that wedding? 244 people were there. COVID-19 spike after that. Death spike after that. How many people were fined? How many ministers were fined? This man carrying food for his wife and child and get fined $8,000. The law, Dr. Williams said at the top of the show, must be what? Equally applied across the board. You all find that's equal, that's equity. $8,000 for he. Dr. Mariam Abdul Richard, you still haven't told me how much money you collect from the PNM. How much is the stipend for the PNM ERHA board? How much is the stipend for the PNM Trinidad and Tobago Bureau of Standards board? How much is your stipend for the PNM NIPDEC board? And how much is your salary paid by the PNM? Before you start to talk, she started to talk about 2 more children admitted, 10 kids now in hospital. We are noticing a trend of an increasing number of children being hospitalized or admitted for management of COVID-19. As of this morning, there are 10 children who are in the parallel healthcare system who are being managed for COVID-19. Of these 10 children, 1 is receiving ICU level care, 1 is receiving HDU high dependency unit care, and 8 other children are receiving ward level care. This is a trend that is causing great concern to us on the health team. I'm not too bright, so let me ask you a simple question. Those children have Delta variant? Do those children have Delta variant? Because they did not say, and they did not claim, and they claim that they only have 5 adults who were tested with Delta variant, and we have no community spread of the Delta variant, and that was from returning residents when the airport opened. I'm asking you because if these children don't have Delta variant, then what has happened? How come the children are reaching the HDU and the ICU with the normal variant, with the normal COVID or the Brazilian variant, just so? How come? I'm asking, I want to understand. Because with the normal variant and the Brazilian variant, children were not at risk. Children were not included in the herd for vaccination. But now all of a sudden, as Rowley is being embarrassed because there is hesitancy to people, because we understood that Rowley has failed in everything, including the education program for vaccination. He believed that education is not necessary, that he is the czar, and what he say, he could bully people and let him shout down and cuss down people, and they will follow him because they are afraid of his bald, stupid self. So we have vaccine hesitancy because we have leadership non-existent. So let me ask you this, I'm just asking, how all of a sudden my children getting sick so? It's not Delta. So you mean the children were always at risk last year, June, July, August, September, October, November? Or just so they just get at risk and they're just getting sick and they're just going in the hospital? You see, when you lie, When you all create a narrative in order to move an agenda, you make yourself sound stupid. And that's why our people don't trust you. That's why there are ghost towns. Where's that picture? Where I have that picture, oh God. Vaccine sites, ghost towns. Because there is no trust in Rowley. There's no trust in Convan Gill. There's no trust in the team. There's no trust in Mr. Honorary Doctorate from the PNM, Roshan Parasram. We continuing. The Alsing says Pfizer vaccine for teachers and health workers. Really? I thought the teachers and the health workers and so on was getting vaccine all the time. But aren't we dangerously exposed? Why don't you try to deal with some of the hesitancy by providing Pfizer to the general population and see if that will assist you all in moving from 28, the paltry 28%, and blaming citizens? You all fail to procure vaccines. You fail to educate the population. You fail to disseminate vaccinations. You lie and did not build trust, and now blaming the people? Unvaccinated Tobago spinning top in mud, says the Newsday. Judy Raymond Newsday, right? Let's hear this Judy Raymond Newsday. Tobago is managing soaring numbers with more than 500 active cases. 400 of them are supposed to be in quarantine at home. Why 400 to quarantine at home? So Tobago could only handle or have a parallel healthcare system for 100 people? After all that $40 billion of PNM spent since 2003? Number one, anyway, with 4% of the Trinidad and Tobago's population, Tobago is handling 10% of its cases. With a close-knit community of 60,000, Tobago remains particularly vulnerable to COVID-19 spread. But a combination of low population numbers and high availability of doses also means that at the current rate of vaccination capacity, the island could have been close to herd immunity in a week. Let's analyze that statement. So, the Newsday realizes that Tobago's close-knit community is particularly vulnerable to COVID-19 spread. You didn't realize that when Rowley sat down and invited the whole of Trinidad to go across to Tobago for Easter and tell them Tobago is the place to be. Come with your Brazilian variant, come with your COVID, come and stink up Tobago, come and infect Tobago, come and kill Tobagonians. All you didn't know that Tobago was susceptible to spread when Rowley talking nonsense. Now you know, after Rowley's damage, that Tobago is susceptible. Now you know that Tobago is small and comparative advantage in vaccination and reaching herd immunity, small population is an advantage. Well, doesn't that also apply to Trinidad and Tobago? We are only 1.4 million people plus 200,000 illegal immigrants, 1.6 million. The United States of America has vaccinated 150, 200 million people. Why have we, in 10 months, only vaccinated 28% of our population? Isn't that a complete, utter failure of Keith Rowley and his PNM government? Because even with a comparative advantage, they have failed. Meanwhile, of course, Tobago's COVID-19 death toll is also rising steadily, hitting 63 this week. And when did it start to rise steadily, Newsday? When Keith Christopher Rowley, the man who say his navel string buried in Tobago and Tobagonians looking to dig it up and burn it on an open pyre, Keith Rowley invited people to Tobago and put Tobago from a 0-0-0 position to now spiraling out of control, death and devastation. That is squarely on the chest, the hands and the heart of Keith Christopher Rowley and the PNM. You didn't say that? Tobago has so clearly run off the rails that exasperated Mr. Dennis fretted that active cases are finding themselves at supermarkets shopping for groceries, at villa and zest parties. Exasperated. The whole of Tobago is exasperated that Dennis still thinks that he's the chief secretary, 6-all, and feel that he's going to win an election, and that Rowley, his boss in Trinidad, the PNM, brought all the Trinis there to infect Tobago. Rowley, Trinidad and Tobago, dangerously exposed. Why are we dangerously exposed, Rowley, to COVID-19? I thought we we were number 1 in the world, when you were calling election to try and get a spike to win, to gerrymander, to not have election observers, to have your EBC controlled by your former sitting minister's niece and the best friend of a bundles that you like, when you were calling election to ensure that you could procure without procurement, and we were not testing, we were not contact tracing. Our first death was here during Carnival. By the time the election called, we had only tested 5,000 people in this country. And you were saying you flattening curve and have this convent girl talking nonsense day in, day out, disrespecting citizens, keeping them out of the country. How come we dangerously exposed now if the borders have been closed and locked down? Who left the borders porous? Who let in the Brazilian variant? Who infected Tobago? Who invited Trinidadians to Tobago? Rowley, and Rowley, you imps. For the children, says the Guardian. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley's frustration with parents who are denying their children the opportunity to take the Pfizer vaccine is understandable. Really, Guardian? You all see how these papers are? So Rowley's frustration with parents is understandable. But our citizens and parents' frustration with Rowley for lying, for telling us nonsense, for obfuscating the science, for taking and attacking doctors and putting idiots in charge, for putting Convent Girl and Davlin Thomas in charge of a pandemic, for not distributing resources, for not procuring vaccines, for not protecting us with the porous borders. Our frustration is not okay. Rowley is frustrated that parents don't want to vaccinate their children. When Rowley did not educate the parents, did not disseminate information, created lies, and everything he says is proven wrong. And the Guardian, you're not frustrated with Rowley's leadership, Rowley's losing the pandemic war. You're not frustrated in nearly 1,300 citizens dying. You're not frustrated that the Brazilian variant is, since May 11th, 90% of deaths and cases. You are not frustrated that the borders are exactly the same as they were pre-pandemic, and now open borders, open season, and illegal immigrants coming. You are not concerned that the state of emergency has not dwindled. We still had 7 deaths today. We had 7 deaths yesterday. 350 cases in 2 days. After 109 days of state of emergency, 116 days of total complete lockdown and economic devastation. You are not frustrated by Rowley's leadership, Rowley's failure, Rowley leaving us dangerously exposed. You are frustrated and understand Rowley's frustration with citizens. Guardian, sitting ducks to Delta, says the Express now. Saturday Express opinion. Such as those cited above. Most alarming is Tobago, which is now recording deaths on an almost daily basis. Why is Tobago now recording deaths on almost a daily basis? Wasn't Tobago pristine in Easter? Before Easter, pristine, 0 community spread, 0 cases, no deaths for 2 months. But then someone invited everybody to Tobago, and now Tobago is recording deaths on almost a daily basis. It stood to reason that managing the spread of the virus among the population, there was not going to be difficult. On the contrary, the island has become an epidemic of transmission. Why? Why has it become an epidemic? Because of Keith Christopher Rowley. Why can't you all talk the truth? Express. Why not finish the thought? Why leave it up in the air? Oh, the COVID just come and the COVID decide to attack Tobago. The Cobo them drop it on Tobago. Rowley invited 50,000 Trinbagonians infected with COVID-19 Brazilian variant with Trinbagonians and illegal immigrants to come across and party. Tobago was a place to be. Now coming back to Rowley. Rowley's talking about teachers and a parallel system. The man is so confused and idiotic he does not even know. Run that video, Archie. Let me hear this clown called Keith Christopher Rowley once again. Archie, you fall asleep, or run the thing by.
The teachers who are going to come out to teach, long ago in the program of vaccination, we made special arrangements for teachers, not once but repeatedly. So we expect that teachers, more than anybody else in this country, would be in a position to explain the science to other people. and of course to have themselves in a position not to be a problem for their society and their charges. So as of now, we have no other position than what we have made public, but we have also said if those positions are not nationally satisfying, then the government will intervene as we see needed. But on the 1st of October, face-to-face learning would be available. Face-to-face contact will be available. But to access that, it has to be for vaccinated students.
Will there be separate teachers to teach the virtual classes?
That is for the Ministry of Education to work out, and that is what the assignment is going to be, to make it work.
That's for the Ministry of Education to work out. So what about, so all the staff, in order to have school, all the staff and all the teachers will have to be vaccinated, you clown. You don't even know that, but you issue an instruction and mandate and so on, talking about that. You have no clue what's going on. And then those who are not vaccinated, and most of them happen to be in your constituencies, and most of the children who are unvaccinated, because of your lack of education program, are those most susceptible to misinformation. And they are also, if you see the correlation, there is a higher hesitancy among people of lower incomes than those of higher incomes. The higher income people are able to get their information on their own from their private doctors, from the experts and so on. The other people will depend on the government, but they don't even trust you because you lie every minute. So what is the plan? Furthermore, let me ask you all something, Rowley, because the Parents Association said that when you take your child to get vaccinated with the Pfizer, that they are being told to sign a waiver. Is that true? That they're waiving their rights to sue if anything untoward goes on? If that is true, Rowley, I've not heard about that being done in any other country. If it's so safe and it's so great and you are buffing people, why must people give up their rights? If something is so pristine and safe, why you don't want the risk? Brilliant. Now to my favorite CMO, the man who get an honorary doctorate from the PNM. The CMO is trying to explain, because I was asking, and all the UNC asking, but how come mall and thing open, retail open, but churches are open and beaches and rivers are open? When everybody know at the beach have sunlight, COVID could only live 12 hours in the hot sun. Whereas in the indoor in the mall, it could live 72 hours. But it also have breeze blowing away the COVID, and the salt water does kill the COVID. You can't go in the salt water, and there's no evidence of any infection in salt water passing, so right? So somebody asked PNM honorary doctorate Roshan Parashram CMO, how come retail open and not churches here and beaches here? Parashram explained that any environment in which face masks have to be taken off poses a significantly higher risk than one in which masks are to be worn at all points in time. Really, Roshan Parashram? So your scientific data shows that if someone takes off their mask, put it in the bag, walks 10 meters into the sea, jumps into the salt in the hot sun with the breeze blowing, that they are more likely to spread COVID-19 than people with masks on, crowding up a mall and walking in and out of shop, touching railing, escalator, ladder, elevator, and so on. That's your science. Please show me that science. You are such a disgusting, dishonest human being, Mr. PNM honorary doctorate for regional and international work. Where you went on a Caribbean Airlines? You sick individual. So the beach, because you have to take off your mask to go and swim, is more infectious and more dangerous than going in C3 Mall to go and shop. You had to be an idiot if you feel we believe in that, you stupid fellow. Move him now. He continued, we are seeing considerably high levels of spread in the Delta variant, possibly the hint of aerosolization playing a significant great role. And you see that where there or we have the spread of the Delta. When you talking nonsense, talking about church, so what a church with open air, sun beating down on people, separation, mass, the church here open, but we could go and spend money in a mall? And you trying to tell me that there's science behind that decision, Mr. PNM, Roshan, Parasham? You have made yourself a complete idiot. I hope you live to be 100 years old. Warning on COVID, a difference between religion and stupidity, says the Archbishop Jason Gordon of Trinidad and Tobago. Saying there was a big difference between faith and stupidity, Gordon said the science is the science. We can't fake it. We have to look at it. We have to ask God to help us to deal with it. That's the same Jesus who stood up at the parapet of the temple when the devil said, jump. Because you are the Son of Man, you would not harm your feet. The angels will give you a soft landing. And Jesus said, do not put the Lord your God to the test. Archbishop Gordon, when Kamala Prasad Bisesa said exactly what you said, when Keith Rowley, after failing to secure the borders, failing to procure vaccinations, failing to keep us safe, failing to keep the Brazilian variant out, failing to stop community spread, when he said, day of prayer, let's pray on Sunday, and Kamala Prasad Bisesa said, yes, pray, but do what you have to do. Continue your social separation. Bring in vaccinations. Get down and do what you have to do, because the Lord Almighty helps those who help themselves. When Kamala said that, and the whole country and Rowley and all the PNM and all those who got money from the PNM, all of those pastors and so on who start to talk and they display more politics than anything, when they started to attack Kamala Prasad Bisesa, sir, I didn't hear you defend her, because you are espousing even a more fervent, stronger position than Kamala Prasad Bisesa did. Did the cat have your tongue? Were you going through a period of silence? Were you fasting? Why didn't you come out and say no? Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the leader of the opposition, is correct. She's responsible. We must pray, but we must do our job. We must do all the best to keep ourselves safe and then pray. I didn't hear you, sir. Man held with fake vaccination cards. Really? A man was held with fake vaccination card? Or is it a former PNM candidate was held with fake vaccination card? This is the fellow. This is Terry Garib. Who is he? Who is he? Because you see the media? Oh, Terry Garib of the PNM. Because if a man went up for election in 1991 as a UNC and he do something wrong and then by the police, the headline does be former UNC candidate. Bap, bap, bap. So now it's just a man held? No. A PNM former candidate held with fake vaccination cards, and the PNM say it's big fine and it's corruption, and okay, PNM. Rowley say, I'll be around for a good while. Well, Trinidad and Tobago, if that is true, God bless Trinidad and Tobago, because we can't be a real place. We have a man who is a scumbucket as a father. A man who has put pressure on children when he's a teacher to get pum-pum. A man, in order for a woman to get a walk in the cabinet or in his government, he must get pum-pum. A man now who trying to take horny goatweed to push his pum-pum governance. He is the Prime Minister, a dishonest liar who lie on Emailgate, lie on everybody, lie on Manning, put spirit lash on Patrick Manning and boast about it. He is the Prime Minister, and everything in Trinidad and Tobago has collapsed. And he say he will be around for a long time. Well, good for all you. I gone. Bless.
facts, not fiction. Join me this Thursday 2nd at 7:30 p.m. sharp, yes, for another Facebook Live as we discuss facts, not fiction. Keep rolling, state of emergency, so much murders, everything out of hand, like this place going through. Join me Thursday at 7:30 p.m. sharp. I'm out.
The future is here and settling nicely into the classrooms of Trinidad and Tobago. Indeed, it is a future that engages the minds of young people in ways that have begun to change the dynamics of education in this Twin Island Caribbean nation. The digital era has arrived, and it's one that excites today the leaders of tomorrow, preparing them with a different learning landscape than existed when simple teaching tools like chalk and talk were the norms. Starting with a laptop for all first formers, the government of Kamala Persad-Bissessar is committed to taking the gadgetry to higher levels, feeding the thirst for knowledge with a diet that scientifically positions the student population for a rapidly changing technological world. The wisdom of laptoping vividly displayed its proud characteristics at the recently held Virtual Educa Symposium in Port of Spain. Young and older ones, the students immersed themselves in what looked like a silicon setting, where familiar and futuristic electronics dazzled their little eyes and captured their inquisitive imagination.
I think what you're doing here is wonderful, and it engages us teens to know more about technology, and I recommend that they do more of this because it's extraordinary.
The art of nonlinear video production attracted these young ladies from St. Augustine Girls High School. As a student from their brother institution, Hillview College, gave them a practical demonstration.
What I was showing them was how to use Autodesk Maya. It's a program that was put online by AutoCAD, and they can use it to create different 3D animations. So I was taking them through the basic steps, how to create an object, assign a different color, and then how to animate the object itself.
Admittedly, the limitless possibilities of electronic classroom boards and remote access of teachers' lesson plans excited the teachers as much as it piqued the interests of the students.
It's exciting. I really like the idea that you could get to touch and move and play and interact. You're seeing room to group wow, it's limitless. The more engaging we can get our students, the more we are going to get from them.
We use different software the ministry have given us in terms of the synchronous eyes and so on. So when we went to the Samsung booth, because we're very excited, we want a virtual classroom. So we at school do implement ICT into our curriculum.
It's a paradigm shift in classroom management and engagement of students, as Dr. Maria Byron, and a method that could heal some of the social problems within the education fraternity.
Every presentation spoke to the need to move away from the traditional models. And those traditional models, if you remember in that paradigm, the key was having students do things based on what others wanted them to do. Today we're saying and we have all the jargon, student-centered, learner-centered, active, participative, constructivist, and it's all coming back down to the keyword student engagement.
The electronic classroom boards have already entered the system on an experimental basis. The Clark Road Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha Hindu Primary School in Penal has the first of 2 smart classrooms.
I must commend the ministry that they have taken this opportunity to share this with the children of Trinidad and Tobago.
The students are actively involved in drawing, writing, touching, and with the high-speed internet access, they have access to a wealth of information. I would say literally at the tip of the students' fingertips.
At Presentation College in Chaguanas, where another board forms part of the research project, IT expert says the Samsung school concept offers greater individual attention and it is less time-consuming.
This will aid teachers when they give their coursework assessments. Right? They don't have to spend 2 hours, 3 hours grading papers, marking papers. This software will do it automatically for certain formats of tests like multiple choice, true and false, short response. It will be able to grade it instantly. And you can get your answers, you can get your results, you would know exactly where in your lesson you have to spend more time and where you can move on.
It is better teacher-student interaction, and I find it is easier to learn, and I find I get my marks and stuff easier.
I am very anxious to see what the next steps for this kind of technology will be for the classroom. I think it makes teaching for the teachers and learning for the students much easier than it was before.
It's innovative, it's a better teacher-student interaction, as my colleague said earlier. It's actually a better learning experience for the children.
The Honorable Prime Minister, in her promise to the nation leading up to the general election of 2010, we had put forward on the manifesto the question of human capital development for sustainable development. And then it was one of the 7 interconnected pillars was the question of ICT and the connectivity within the population and ICT in education as well. And from day one, she had also promised to give the students entering into secondary school 1 laptop per child. And we have delivered in that. For the last 4 years, we have given close to 75,000 laptops to students, and who would be now in Form 1 to Form 4. We give to close to 5,000 teachers, primary school principals, secondary school principals, school supervisors. Together we trained close to 4,000 to 5,000 teachers on ICT skills and knowledge at different levels. And then in addition to that, we ensure that all 134 secondary schools have computer labs ranging some from 1 to 6, and some of the labs have up to 60 computers. And more than 300 primary schools have computer labs. And we're working to complete 176 more primary schools before September comes on.
But the rollout plan does not stop here. Virtual EduCar, which is celebrating its 15th anniversary, is particularly pleased with the organization and successful execution of the symposium here in Trinidad and Tobago. Its Director General, Jose Maria Anton, says plans are ahead for the setting up of a regional center that will link classrooms across the hemisphere.
In each country of the Caribbean, we are going to have a virtual EduCare 21st century classroom. That means the following. And let me explain a little bit. You have a classroom of every kind, but you need a classroom, experimental classroom, where you have all this technology. And then you bring the kids and show the parents that they are looking that those kids are not playing, are studying and learning in new ways that makes necessary 21st century.
Yes.
And then the teachers will also lose the problem they have with using technology became more relaxed and use all those materials. If you have one of those classrooms that are showcases in each country, and you have one person in charge of the classroom, pedagogy, skills, and you make a network, and you relate that to Latin America, and you work on that. You are making something. This morning, Minister of Education, Trinidad and Tobago, and the Deputy Secretary General of the U.S. announced that in 3 months we are going to have the plan prepared. In 6 months, we'll have the whole thing running.
The Organization of American States, which partners with Virtual EDUCAR, is giving its unequivocal support to these initiatives. Assistant Secretary General Ambassador Albert Randin says the OAS will continue to endorse the smart classroom construct because of its intrinsic value to economic development and global positioning.
For us, it's critical that we have citizens who are responsible, who have a job, who can make a living for themselves, but also citizens who can take economies to the next level of development. We cannot progress by continuing with the same kind of approach. I'm very happy that Trinidad and Tobago is flourishing in that sense as a leader in the Caribbean and certainly also in the Americas in terms of taking initiative. We cannot keep talking about it. Somebody has to start doing it. It's only then, and the OAS will support always this initiative, because for us it's important that we maintain democratic governance, democratic institutions, a high degree of observing human rights, but also creating jobs, making sure that people have an income, build a life for themselves, and look towards the future.
Samsung Technologies, which built the 2 experimental classrooms in Trinidad, has pledged its continuing assistance in creating the Regional Networking Center.
Samsung is willing to support and provide Samsung's hardware devices as well as Samsung's software know-how and knowledge in this smart school project. I think this is a great opportunity for us to understand what smart school project in the future is very important in the education field. I'm definitely sure this is one of the great stepping stones to build up the next future education system.
Several other global corporate sponsors partnered with the Ministry of Education in Trinidad and Tobago to ensure a successful symposium with simultaneous workshops conducted by local and international experts.
A new UNC government will have to bring our economy back onto a sustainable growth path, restart the diversification process away from the dominant energy sector, and restore trust in government. The roadmap for turning our economy around is our National Economic Transformation Master Plan. We know what we want to do. 50,000 jobs in 5 years and doubling our non-energy exports to $5 billion by 2025. We know how we're going to do it. The UNC's National Economic Transformation Master Plan places technology in a priority position. Today, the new technologies of the 4th Industrial Revolution have created brand new business models and economic opportunities. Technology-driven businesses in biotech and the digital economy can give our country a great chance to speed up modernization of the economy. Biotechnology and the digital economy can deliver 10,000 new jobs, move Trinidad and Tobago 40 places up on the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business scale, help Trinidad and Tobago climb 25 places on the World Economic Forum's Global Competitive Index. We will increase investment in research and development to 1% of GDP, work with private investors to establish a national venture capital fund, invite private investors to establish a biotechnology manufacturing zone along the East-West corridor, and a digital innovation park in Sevilla. We know what we want to do. 50,000 jobs in 5 years, and doubling our non-energy exports to $5 billion by 2025. We know how we're going to do it. Let's get Trinidad and Tobago working again.